everybody. It is Friday, and that means it's time for the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Cruz's hometown station. John?
I'm back, Doug. I'm back.
Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. Went to Key West, Florida. Had a blast. Boatload of friends. Lots of adult beverages and music. How's that?
That's a good way
Saw
to
Jimmy
put it.
Buffett on the beach.
Wow.
On one side, look to the left, and there's Cuba. But the world's going crazy. I don't understand this. I go away for a week.
Yeah.
Okay? I go away for a week. Now, I can't go to Starbucks because they have red cups. I go to Starbucks, I get green iced tea. It's in a clear cup. I must be anti-Christmas.
You are.
Then they're going to build a wall? Really? Come on.
No, Donald's going to build
Donald's going to build a wall. He's going to hire private jets to take everybody back to where they came. I came from England. I'd like an all-expense-paid trip to England. Thank you. Are we going to have laser beams on this wall? Maybe sharks with lasers. It's silly. And then, what's going on in Missouri? I don't understand that. How can 20-year-olds go on hunger strikes when there's been nothing really
and get
wrong?
professors and their president fired.
And then the football coach resigns. Really?
Yeah.
Oh no! It was an offensive lineman. He was They probably were. Don't get me started. And then. So did Ben Carson not go to West Point or go to West Point?
No. He said he had an offer, a verbal offer, when he was a senior in high school. He was sitting at a restaurant with some
So
guy.
he was going to play football at West Point?
No, he was just going to go.
He never signed his letter of intent.
No.
It's silly. I mean,
And then he got accused of being a liar.
And then what is this about the boy, on the
John.
girls volleyball team?
Now you're going to get me going. A transgender boy in Illinois. The Department of Education, okay? Obama's Department of Education ruled that this young man should be able to take showers with the young ladies, even though he has male genitalia.
I think I should take showers with the young ladies, too.
Now, let me ask you, John.
You
have daughters.
I have daughters.
You have a daughter in high school, do you?
I have a daughter in high school.
And if one of the guys was allowed to join the volleyball team with her and he was still a guy from the waist below, how would you feel about your daughter taking a shower with this guy?
Doug, I have a secret about my oldest daughter that I'll tell on the air because she never listens to the show, so it'll be awesome. She's really tall. She's about 5'9", 5'10". She would have played volleyball. She was embarrassed because the shorts were too short. So how do you think she feels? Forget how I feel. How do you think she feels having to shower? Forget you. Forget me. We're never going to be there. What about the high school girls?
Exactly.
What do they think?
Why put them through that?
And why is this transgender boys' rights more?
Exactly. Right.
Why are they given more weight than the girls' rights?
Our president came out and praised the decision. Okay, I want to ask him, sir. How would you feel about your daughters taking a shower with somebody?
Forget how he feels.
No, I want to know how he feels.
That's not the issue.
He praised the decision.
The issue is his daughters. How do his daughters feel? Okay. You're never going to be in a position of having to.
The girls on this particular school, this is in Illinois, talked about their uncomfortableness with that situation.
End of story.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter. The school district was still ruled against them, saying they were being discriminatory.
No.
The young man should be able to take a shower, and he will be able to take a shower with the girls. And if he doesn't, there's going to be consequences.
You know what's going to happen
for that school?
All those girls will be like, "We're going to shower at home. Bye." Yeah. So now what we've done is we've just created stinky school buses.
Yep.
That's really what we have done in this country. And don't get me started. See, this is what happens, Doug. This is exactly.
Well, you shouldn't go away then.
But can we talk about something else?
Like what?
I don't know. Let's go to commercial break. We'll talk about something when we come back.
Okay. I'm sure it'll be uplifting too.
Yeah, yippee! This is so much fun. We're going to have fun somewhere, aren't we?
At the end.
Maybe at the end. All right, you're listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Cruz's hometown station. We'll be right back.
We are back, everybody, on Santa Cruz's hometown station, AM-1220 KHTS. It's the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John. It's the Radio Digest version of the Santa Clarita Gazette for everything you need to know to be in the know.
Yeah, so Doug, you saw the debate, I'm sure. Okay,
absolutely.
Because my viewing of the debate was probably different than yours.
Why is that?
Well, because I was coming back from Florida. And I got back Monday night, and I needed something to help me with a time change because it was like, something to keep me awake, something to keep me asleep.
Right.
I figured the debate was better than any medication I could take. Was that the most boring debate?
No, I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there when Donald Trump is polite.
Yeah, that's boring.
It was boring.
Yeah. I liked it because it was substantive. the questions were right on compared to the one. Did you see the one that CNBC did?
Yeah, that was just a joke. But
and I think the best thing I liked about it was it clearly contrasted all 8 of them. Is how many there was up there? 8, 7 or 8.
They all kind of blend together after a while.
Compared to what their opponent in next year is going to be.
Okay, so do you think that they did a better job of splitting themselves up from other Republicans,
No.
or splitting themselves up from
The
Hillary,
Democrat,
the Democrats?
The Hillary.
Because
Let's just say it's Hillary. It's going to be Hillary.
You think it's going to be Hillary?
Unless she's in jail, but yeah.
Well, okay, let's talk about that for a second, because what struck me with all the stuff that's going on with Hillary and coming back and taking a look at it. Remember, we were talking to Robert Patrick Lewis, who will be on later today.
Right.
He's our national correspondent. He pointed out something very interesting to me, and I sort of kind of have taken that and going, all right, let's review and see where this goes. The thing that gets me is each department of the government is allowed to make their own rules with regard to top secret documentation. What constitutes top secret for the Commerce Department is different than what constitutes top secret,
Right.
sensitive, whatever.
Right.
Okay. So let's go past the fact that it's technically illegal or a violation of regulations to have a private server for any government business.
Right.
Okay, so that's just a violation of regulations. It's not, you're not going to get thrown in jail.
Right.
You're not going to Sing Sing for that one. She had it, and then there's sort of kind of a cover-up that was but wasn't.
Well, didn't it all start with how many of them supposedly got deleted?
And then the thing that bothers me the most is, what did she tell everybody that Benghazi was? Oh, it's a videotape, and then there's emails to her daughter?
So let me ask you this. Is that more of a truthful
It's a true
litmus
thing.
test for
It's a
truthfulness compared to what
exactly.
Ben Carson did in the senior year of high school, misrepresenting
And
how
failing
he,
to sign his letter of intent
Yeah.
to play football for
I mean,
West
come
Point.
on.
I know. Speaking of truthfulness, we have a special guest who did not stand us up, so we take back all the nasty things we said about him on the air. Actually, we didn't even comment about him on the air. We have City Councilman Tim Ben Boyson. Nice to see you, sir.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be here, and I'm sorry I'm running a couple of minutes late. I appreciate the fact that you didn't say anything, but now you did, and so now I did, but there you go.
Well, we apologize for not saying anything. How's that? we can dance away whatever way you want.
We understand you're a busy man.
There we go. And so I know it's really fun to be on your show, and thank you for the invitation.
Oh, no problem.
That's what I appreciate.
A lot of stuff to talk to you about.
Wonderful, and I'm here to either answer the question or find out the answer to the question, and then let you know.
I think, John, let's start off with the issue you want to talk about, because there's a lot of listeners.
I was going to ask what's going on at the Kenya Theater Guild first.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're going to go light. to heavy.
Okay, then, going on.
They don't have a lot of time, John.
Opening Thanksgiving weekend, we always have a holiday show, and this year is no exception. We're doing A Christmas Carol, the musical.
Wow.
And it's one that we did 4 years ago, and some of the same actors are playing some of the same parts.
So there would be somebody in this room that might have a part in that
If
show?
you-
Someone in this room is looking a little shaggy, like their
If
beard
you
is
would have
growing a little
looked
long.
at the Gazette, you would have seen the story on who Scrooge is going to be.
Well, there you go. You did read your Gazette this morning, didn't
is his
you?
first name Bob? Okay. See what I did there?
Yeah, I saw what you did there. I can't comment. We're on live radio.
No, it's only
Here
us two.
forever.
It's only us two. All right,
All that stuff.
so now let's
So
get
it's
started.
yes, doing Ebenezer Scrooge and very working under the very talented Michael Davies as a director, and some of the same cast members are doing it again. It's going to be it's one of the favorite shows, and our audience is one of their favorites, so we brought it back.
Oh, awesome.
And when does it
Great.
start?
Opens Thanksgiving weekend on Friday, and plays Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then plays through a few days before Christmas. So
awesome.
Call the box office 799-2700.
Perfect.
You can see me in an entirely different light.
Now let's talk about box offices, shall we?
Oh.
There's the segue for you. That was
Wow.
$1 million segue. Actually, it's
That
was a $13.5 million segue right there, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a $13.5 million segue. Yes. It has to do with, I assume we're going to talk
We're
about
talking about the
the
theater.
Lemley Theater.
But that's why I
Lemley
wanted to back up, because a lot of our listeners are not aware of what we're talking about. Can you educate them real quick about what the proposal is, what even Lemley is?
Yeah, real quickly, Lemley is an art house theater, and a good one. Okay, they do independent films that you don't always see on the screen. So if they have a multiplex, maybe half the screens are showing first-run movies, and the other half are dedicated to movies that are not shown everywhere. Okay, they're lesser-known pieces. So this Laemmle Theater. There are some Laemmle fans here in Santa Clarita, and they drive to go to the Laemmle theaters elsewhere. Yeah. And there are people in the city of Santa Clarita and on the council as well that think it would be a good idea to subsidize the Laemmle Theater Company to the tune of $4.5 million for a direct subsidy with the latest numbers we're using. Now, it's not, the negotiations are still ongoing. Okay. So this is the numbers that the Laemmle and the Serrano companies that are building this project, or might be building this project if the council agrees. This is the numbers they've given so far. Okay. So the numbers, when the negotiations are finished, may change slightly. They may go up a little, they may go down a little, but they're not going to change a lot. Okay. So it's a subsidy of $4.5 million straight to the theater, and then we need to build another $9 million worth of parking for the project.
Okay.
So,
but let me ask you this: would you be building the parking if it wasn't for the theater?
I don't believe we would be building the parking if it wasn't for the theater, and the reason is because that parking's $9 million. So if we were going to build the parking, then it would have been something that the city, I would have thought, should have done, according to our redevelopment plan, 400 spaces on each these parking garages on each end of the block here in downtown Newhall, in the 5-block difference. So but 800 spaces is what it said. Unfortunately, under that plan, this was money that was going to go to other taxing agencies like the state, and it didn't come out of the general fund of Santa Clarita. So it was when we had redevelopment money, which we don't have anymore. Okay. And so that was a problem, and it still remains a problem, as they changed all the zoning based on the fact there was going to be 800 spaces. They never changed the zoning back. Okay. So now let's go specifically to that project.
Well, wait a minute. I have a good question first. Okay. They're talking about, because your plan, it seems like there's competing plans for this $13.5 million.
That is exactly what I'm bringing forward.
My question is, where's the $13.5 million come from?
The general fund. That comes from the taxpayers' dollars, and this is the critical thing, is that $13.5 million is something that we won't be able to spend on other things that the city needs.
But would we normally spend this $13.5 million, or is it
something else?
Some of it we would be spending eventually on some of the projects that I am proposing. Okay. So let me give you a thumbnail sketch of the difference between our two projects. And I came up with this. Well, why do you come up with this? Don't you want the Laemmle theaters? No, I think Laemmle is a good company. I think that it's great to have art house movies, but I am a free market guy. And I believe the government should keep their hands out of the free market as much as possible.
Okay, so you're not just grandstanding and throwing out cool things that we could do with this money.
No, absolutely not.
All right. This is a legit question.
And I will go over what the money I think would be better used for. And of course, the council could allot it differently. But the reason I did it with facilities that have been talked about, or facilities that are in the planning stages now that eventually are supposed to be built, is because that's actual facilities. Okay, because this is facilities money that we're going to be taking this money out of. It's stuff that we plan on using to build facilities in Santa Clarita. Okay. So you have the competing projects. The movies, great, but let the movies pay their own way. Okay. Other businesses and developers that come into Santa Clarita, Santa Clarita has never had the reputation, and I don't want it to get the reputation, of a place where we go to the taxpayers, tax the heck out of them, and then give that money to our friends or people we want to be friendly with. So it has to make good economic sense. This doesn't. How can I say this doesn't? Is it just, grandstanding? No. I have a background in commercial real estate. I was in it for 9 years. Okay. I developed small commercial projects, and I also managed them for 9 years. I worked in redevelopment area in Santa Monica and in Hollywood. Oh, so I have a lot of background. I signed commercial leases for a living. For a long time. So when I look at it from a business perspective, and I also look at it from a taxpayer perspective. And the question is, should we be subsidizing this project, $14.5 million project, by this much money? So this is the question. Should we or shouldn't we And let me tell you, the numbers might be slightly different because the numbers that they're talking about are slightly different. But let's just say it's 13.5 million now, but it's likely to be higher. Okay.
All right. So, and where that comes from, just to make sure I'm clear, is there's about a $4 million subsidy directly to the theater.
That's the latest number, $4.5 million directly to the theater.
And then because of the theater and the development that's coming in, we're not really giving anything to the developers building the commercials, some of the other commercial space, but we are going to build parking for both
them.
of those.
So we are doing
just for the theater.
Yeah.
So and
it's
the developers.
$9 million worth of things.
And then we're dropping $9 million on parking.
Yes. Okay. So let me very briefly say the difference between the two.
Yeah, because when I look that's at funny this, with you, Tim Vent.
I look at this project and I say, okay, now this is with a development background and living here in Newhall and looking at what we need more parking. Absolutely.
Right.
So how do we get more parking? Well, under my plan, we don't have a theater, but we have the same amount of commercial space.
Okay.
That's the same amount of restaurants and stuff. Now this is a big if the developer of the housing wants to put in market rate condominiums, which they're planning on doing, they could do so as long as they pay for all their own parking. Because I don't believe that the people of Santa Clarita should subsidize market rate housing by us paying for their parking. And that's part of their plan.
Right.
Part of the plan is that they will have no guest spaces. And those who live in condominium projects and stuff without guest spaces, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Okay?
Crazy.
So we figure that there's a 38 space deficit that would be used by the visitors to those things under the other plan.
Right.
And I don't think we should do that. So if they were willing to pay for their own parking, they can put housing above it.
Right.
That's fine, above this footprint.
Like in Pasadena.
Exactly. But that those costs are borne by the developers and the people that buy those houses. So we don't subsidize their parking. And we have the same amount of commercial. The only thing we don't have is a theater. Okay.
Unless they want to put it in.
So, unless they want to pay for their own parking and put a theater in this town, and that's fine. I would support that.
Okay.
But Councilman, how is this born? Do they come to you and do they say, hey, we want to do this, but if we're going to do this, you guys got to ante up? Or do we go to them and say, hey, we're going to ante up if you come here and do this?
The way this process worked and the way it had worked for many years in redevelopment, and there has been over the years, shall we say, misuse of redevelopment money up and down the state. One of the reasons why they got rid of it. But when it works well, it's a good idea. But in that case, you would many times, the entity, which in this case is the city, was the redevelopment agency, was looking to go out to find an anchor tenant, to bring in people that might not come to Newhall otherwise. There's a whole litany of things they could do with taxpayer money that wasn't city money. Okay, it was money that was going to go elsewhere. So that's a different formula. And if we were under that formula, I might be more amenable to subsidizing somebody to come in here, but that is not the way it is.
That's not the way it is.
So, can it be successful the other way? Yes, I think it can. And what is the cost the other way? What do we get the other way? We get this same amount of housing as long as they're willing to pay their fair share.
Yeah.
We would get the same amount of commercial, and we would get, because you don't have to do stack parking, very expensive, $35,000 to $50,000 a space, depending on how you go.
Right.
You just do surface parking, which is about $1,500 a space. Now, once you add in the turn lanes and the landscape and everything, let's say that it cost $500,000, you get 150 spaces. On that, plus all that commercial, and 150 spaces. 75 is what's required to support the commercial that we put in. It gives you 75 extra spaces.
But wait a minute.
So 75 extra spaces, because we know people that visit down here and go to the Egg Plantation, a fabulous place that I would recommend for breakfast. Yeah. When you go down there, and you go down the weekend, it's a problem. There's not enough parking.
But wait a minute.
So this is 1 block away, got 75 spaces.
Wait a minute.
You got KHTS right down here. You guys would have 1 block over, be able to park over there. Because let me tell you, when they open Tracy Harris back up and you don't get to park over there, there's going to be issues.
But wait a minute.
So we need that spaces.
Wait a minute.
Now hold on, let me finish. 75 spaces you get for $500,000.
Okay.
The other way, you get no extra spaces. Okay, for outside use, you pay $9 million.
But wait a minute, Councilman. Now I'm going to.
Now go ahead.
Now,
do you want me to? I want to talk about the other way. What I want to do with the other.
We'll talk about.
I want to do with the other $13 million.
We'll talk about your plan in a second.
A better way to spend that.
I got a question.
Than on a parking garage.
Before we completely destroy the theaters, let me ask you a couple questions. Has anybody ever estimated the revenue from the theater for the city?
Yes, that's a plan with specificity that they're working on right now. But
Okay,
let's
so they haven't-
look at this. Remember, we're in the city. We're not in the business. We're not supposed to be in the business of giving gifts. It's called a gift of public funds. So
Absolutely.
you're supposed to be able to show that it comes back to you in tax dollars. So let's look at that real briefly. How much will come back? Well, movie tickets aren't taxed.
Okay.
So you're getting nothing back from that.
Okay.
So what are you going to get back? Well, they think there's an increased economic activity in the local area
Have
by
they
building
figured
these
that? Has
theaters.
somebody figured that out?
Their first estimate staff has done was $4 million a year. Okay.
Okay.
1% of that, which is what the city gets, is $40,000.
$40,000. Okay,
My math
all right.
is right. So if
That
we
was-
spend $13 million and divide that by 40,000,
it takes a long time to
a
pass.
really
All
long
right.
time.
We're in negotiations at this point, correct?
Yes.
Okay, it's a 90-day exclusive
I'm
period
not,
or whatever,
but
but the city
staff
is.
is,
Okay,
yes.
staff is. Has anybody looked at maybe a partial subsidy or a revenue-based subsidy or something along those lines? Is there a payment plan? Is there any alternative to a direct subsidy that they're even considering? Because it seems like the perfect idea would be to, fine, we'll kick in for the parking. You build the theater. We'll cut you a little break here or there, whether it's
Little break, $9 million.
no, I didn't say a $9 million break. That's a little bit high. Because I would like, what do I apply for a subsidy again? I didn't get that part. I would like to be subsidized. I promise not to spend it unwisely.
There are people that come before the council on a regular basis. They would like roller hockey. They would like us to build indoor ice facilities. They would like us to build a lot of very worthwhile things for sports.
I would just like
tourism.
Hey, I know
I would just like a big screen
a
TV.
BMX.
I know a weekly
BMXers would like
newspaper that
things.
could
A
use
weekly
the
newspaper
subsidy.
should be subsidized.
Hey, I'm a First Amendment fan.
Yeah.
Let's
Councilman, real quick, I'd like you to comment on Mayor Pro Tem Bob Keller. He quoted was saying, from a commerce perspective, this will be a tremendous benefit to all the area's businesses, and this is a major opportunity to enhance visitorship to Main Street. And then he adds, he also noted that improved commerce in the area has the potential to generate dividends for the city that could be used to build parks, implement beautification projects, and further community centers.
Sure, of course. But how much?
Yeah.
How much is the impact? There's always impact, you know. Even the state money for the green jobs. Do I need to give you the examples? I don't think I do. Gentlemen, I've heard you talk about them. Those type of things. So the government comes in, gives somebody $10 million, and creates 10 jobs. Okay, this is the problem, right? Are we ready to go to the plan?
Yeah, we need.
Let's go to your plan.
We got to hurry.
We got to hurry.
Okay, so instead of, we spend $500,000, we get 75 extra space, we get the same amount of commercial, and we get residential if they want to pay their way. So with the $13 million, I propose that we use it for critical facilities, and I'm calling this my critical facilities plan, and I suggest that we use $2 million for the senior center because they need to finish their funding drive so it can be a Class A facility. And that will allow them to build the kitchens and everything in there. I believe we should use $2 million that is a homeless shelter, for year-round homeless shelter, $2 million for our public safety to go toward the sheriff's station, which is going to be centrally located, $2 million for the Canyon Country Community Center, which is needed to keep our at-risk kids off the streets.
Okay.
$2 million for the Saugus Library. Saugus does not have a library, the only community in our city that doesn't. Plus, community space there so that they can have things that they need. They need community space up at that end of the valley. So
point.
where's $2 million there? $2 million needs to go to the transitional care unit. You may remember that. They took that out when they built all those office buildings
spaces,
over
yeah.
and expanded the hospital section.
Yeah.
They took it out because it didn't pay enough. Well, let me tell you, that's valuable.
Absolutely.
The transitional care unit is valuable when your family members are in the hospital. You need to be able to visit them locally, and that is while they recover. Okay, and that is very important, and it was talked about. We even set aside $250,000. You haven't heard about that since. And we need to bring that back. We put $2 million in that, and we spend $1 million on the adult daycare. You know what adult daycare is? Because we had it in this valley for a very long time. Until very recently.
Right.
And then, now you have to drive.
And now you have to drive.
If you have someone who's handicapped, who's an adult, who has special needs, who needs care of someone who's like a nurse, who's qualified, they have to go to adult daycare center way out across the valley because We don't have
We don't
one
have
here.
it.
So these, I believe, are critical facilities. They're critical for seniors. They're critical for disabled. They're critical for homeless. They're critical for public
everybody.
safety. They're critical for
right.
at-risk people. And that's what you can get for $13 million. Because you know what local government's about? It's about the allocation of limited resources. I know the
Absolutely.
federal
Absolutely.
government seems to have lost sight of limited resources. So we have an $18
Okay.
trillion deficit.
All right, we're gonna have
But
to
here on a local level,
Wait,
I want to be that
How are you going to get this on the agenda?
Gentlemen,
How are you gonna get this
can you
on the
hang on till
agenda?
after the break?
I can.
All right, for a couple minutes.
Let's
'cause
pay the
I got
bills.
2 questions after the break, and then we'll kick you out, okay? All right, you listen to the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We're back after this.